The first car accident happened in 1891. The Ford Model T made cars affordable in 1908. Volkswagen's Beetle was the most manufactured single car design, with over 21 million produced.
The first speeding ticket was issued in 1902 for going 88 mph in a 2 mph zone. Diesel engines were first used in cars in 1936. The DeSoto brand was introduced by Chrysler in 1928.
Mercedes-Benz produced the first production diesel car in 1936. The Tucker 48 was an innovative but unsuccessful American car in 1948. The Chevrolet Corvette, introduced in 1953, was America's first mass-produced sports car.
The Volkswagen Beetle was the longest-running and most manufactured car design, ending production in 2003. The first production hybrid electric car was the Toyota Prius, launched in 1997. The Ford Mustang debuted in 1964 and became an iconic American muscle car.
The first turn signal was invented and installed on cars in 1939. The DeSoto Airflow, introduced in 1934, had innovative streamlined styling. The Cord 810-812, produced from 1936-1937, had front-wheel drive and retractable headlights.
The Ford Model A, produced from 1927 to 1931, replaced the iconic Model T. The Chrysler Airflow, introduced in 1934, was an early aerodynamic car design. The Pontiac Firebird, launched in 1967, was a competitor to the Ford Mustang.
The first production gasoline-electric hybrid vehicle was the Lohner Porsche Mixte in 1899. The Chevrolet Bel Air, produced from 1950-1975, was a popular American automobile. The Datsun 240Z, introduced in 1969, brought affordable sports cars to the masses.
The Ford Pinto, produced from 1971-1980, was plagued by a controversial gas tank design. The DMC DeLorean, with its gull-wing doors, was produced from 1981 to 1983. The Chrysler minivan, introduced in 1983, revolutionized family transportation.
The Cadillac Eldorado, produced from 1953 to 2002, was Cadillac's flagship luxury car. The Volkswagen Golf, introduced in 1974, became one of the world's best-selling cars. The Honda Civic, first sold in the U.S. in 1972, is one of the longest continually produced nameplates.
The Datsun 510, introduced in 1968, was a highly influential compact sports sedan. The AMC Gremlin, produced from 1970-1978, had a distinctive wedge-shaped design. The Pontiac Aztek, introduced in 2001, was controversial for its polarizing styling.
The Studebaker Avanti, produced in 1962 to 1963, featured a fiberglass body and supercharged engine. The Citroën DS, introduced in 1955, had innovative suspension and aerodynamic styling. The Ford Taurus, introduced in 1986, became one of the best-selling American cars.
The Tucker 48, produced in 1948, had innovative safety features like a center-mounted Cyclops headlight. The Chevrolet Corvair, produced from 1960-1969, had a controversial rear-mounted, air-cooled engine. The Plymouth Barracuda, introduced in 1964, was an early competitor to the Ford Mustang. The Pontiac GTO, introduced in 1964, is considered the first American muscle car. The Volkswagen Type 2 Transporter, or microbus, was produced from 1950 to 1979. The Plymouth Prowler, produced from 1997 to 2002, had a retro future hot rod design.
The DeSoto Airflow, introduced in 1934, had an innovative aerodynamic body. The Chevrolet Vega, produced from 1971 to 1977, had quality issues that damaged Chevrolet's reputation. The AMC Pacer, produced from 1975 to 1980, had a unique wide body design. The Chrysler Airflow, introduced in 1934, was an early adopter of aerodynamic styling. The Ford Pinto, produced from 1971 to 1980, had a controversial gas tank design prone to explosions. The Daihatsu Charade, introduced in 1977, was an influential small car.
The Cord 810-812, produced from 1936 to 1937, had front-wheel drive and hidden headlights. The Subaru Brat, produced from 1978 to 1994, had an innovative pickup-style design. The Geo Metro, produced from 1989 to 1997, was a highly efficient compact car.
The Nash Rambler, produced from 1950 to 1955, was an early American compact car. The Mazda Miata, introduced in 1989, reinvigorated the affordable sports car market. The Hummer H1, produced from 1992 to 2006, was a militaristic civilian off-road vehicle.
The Edsel, produced by Ford from 1958 to 1959, was an infamous sales failure due to its controversial styling. The DeLorean DMC-12, produced from 1981 to 1983, had distinctive gull-wing doors. The Chrysler PT Cruiser, produced from 2000 to 2010, had a retro-styled body.
The Hudson Hornet, produced from 1951 to 1954, was a successful NASCAR racer. The Pontiac Aztek, produced from 2001 to 2005, had polarizing, gremlin-like styling. The Trabant, produced by East Germany from 1957 to 1990, was an iconic but low-quality car.
The Chevrolet Corvair, produced from 1960 to 1969, had a controversial rear-mounted air-cooled engine. The Plymouth Prowler, produced from 1997 to 2002, had a retro-future hot rod design. The Bugatti Veyron, produced from 2005 to 2015, was the world's fastest production car. The DeSoto brand was introduced by Chrysler in 1928 and produced until 1961. The Chevrolet Bel Air, produced from 1950 to 1975, was a popular American automobile. The Datsun 240Z, introduced in 1969, brought affordable sports cars to the masses.
The Tucker 48, produced in 1948, had innovative safety features like a center-mounted Cyclops headlight. The Chevrolet Corvair, produced from 1960 to 1969, had a controversial rear-mounted air-cooled engine. The Plymouth Barracuda, introduced in 1964, was an early competitor to the Ford Mustang.
The first gasoline-powered car was built by Carl Benz in 1886. The Ford Model T, introduced in 1908, was the first mass-produced affordable car. The Volkswagen Beetle was the longest-running and most manufactured single-car design.
The first production hybrid electric car was the Toyota Prius, launched in 1997. The Ford Mustang debuted in 1964 and became an iconic American muscle car. The Chevrolet Corvette, introduced in 1953, was America's first mass-produced sports car.
The first self-driving car was developed by Carnegie Mellon University in the 1980s. The DMC DeLorean, with its gull-wing doors, was produced from 1981 to 1983. The Chrysler minivan, introduced in 1983, revolutionized family transportation.
The Aston Martin DB5 gained worldwide fame for being the iconic car driven by James Bond in the 1964 film Goldfinger. Its gadgets, including machine guns and an ejector seat, made it a true spy car.
In 1916, the first car radio was invented by Motorola. It wasn't until 1930 that the technology became more widely available in automobiles.
The Volkswagen Group, which includes brands like Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, and Lamborghini, produces more sausages than cars. They have their own butchery. The world's longest traffic jam happened in China in 2010 and lasted a whopping 12 days. Imagine being stuck in that.
The average person spends around 4.3 years of their life driving a car. That's a lot of time behind the wheel.
The Porsche 911, an iconic sports car, was originally designed to be called the Porsche 901. However, Peugeot objected to the use of a three-digit number with a zero in the middle, so Porsche changed it to 911.
The first electric car was built in the 19th century by Thomas Davenport. It may surprise you to know that electric cars have been around for longer than you think.
The world's largest car sculpture, called Metropolis, stands at a staggering height of 40 meters 131 feet. It's an impressive sight to behold.
The iconic Lamborghini brand was born out of a rivalry. Founder Ferruccio Lamborghini was dissatisfied with his Ferrari and decided to build his own supercars to outshine them. Talk about turning a grudge into greatness.
The McLaren F1, a legendary supercar, was the first production car to feature a carbon fiber monocoque chassis, which made it incredibly lightweight and fast. It was so advanced that it held the title of the world's fastest car for over a decade.
The world's first traffic light was installed in 1868 in London. It was manually operated and featured only two colors, red and green.
The Formula One Grand Prix is the pinnacle of motorsport, with cars reaching speeds of over 200 miles per hour and pulling up to 5G in corners. The precision and skill required to compete in this high-stakes race are truly awe-inspiring.
The world's first car race took place in France in 1894. The race covered a distance of 79 miles from Paris to Rouen, with the winning car averaging a staggering 10 mph per hour.
The world's first roadworthy 3D printed car, called the Strati, was created in 2014. It took just 44 hours to print the entire vehicle.
The first car to have seatbelts as standard was the Saab GT 750. Introduced in 1958, it was a significant step forward in automotive safety.
The fastest production car in the world is the Bugatti Chiron Supersport 300. It can reach a top speed of a staggering 304.77 mph.
Here's a mind-bender for you. Lamborghini's logo, the Raging Bull, was chosen because the company's founder, Ferruccio Lamborghini, was born under the zodiac sign Taurus, which is represented by a bull. The Lamborghini Veneno, one of the most exclusive and expensive cars in the world, is named after a legendary fighting bull. Veneno means poison in Spanish.
Ever heard of the mystery car? In 1938, a car was designed that had no doors, windows, or visible engine. It was a true enigma.
The iconic Ford Mustang was unveiled at the New York World's Fair on April 17, 1964. It became an instant sensation and sparked the pony car revolution.
The Rolls-Royce logo, known as the Spirit of Ecstasy, was inspired by a secret love affair between the car maker's founder, Charles Rolls, and a woman named Eleanor Velasco Thornton. The first ever recorded instance of a car being stolen occurred in 1896 in Paris. The thief was caught, and the car was returned to its owner.
The iconic Ford Mustang made its silver screen debut in the James Bond film Goldfinger in 1964. It instantly became an iconic symbol of American muscle cars.
The Ferrari Testarossa, a beloved sports car, translates to redhead in Italian, referring to the red-painted cam covers on its engine. The Chevrolet Corvette Stingray got its name from its sleek and aerodynamic design, inspired by the graceful movements of the stingray fish.
Ever wondered what the most expensive car ever sold was? It's a 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO, which was sold for a jaw-dropping $48.4 million.
Have you ever heard of the Million Mile Club? Well, a 1990 Honda Accord holds the record for the highest recorded mileage on a car over 1 million miles.
The Lamborghini Aventador has a top speed of 217 mph, but did you know that it can also go from 0 to 60 mph in just 2.9 seconds? Talk about acceleration.
The Rolls-Royce Phantom has an optional feature called the Gallery, which allows owners to display their own artwork behind a sheet of glass on the dashboard. Who knew cars could be art galleries?
The fastest street-legal electric car, the Rimac Nevra, can accelerate from 0 to 60 mph in a mind-blowing 1.74 seconds. It's like being launched into hyperspace.
The Mercedes-Benz 300 SL, known for its iconic gull-wing doors, was the world's fastest production car in its time, reaching speeds up to 161 mph.
The world's largest car museum is the Cité de l'Automobile in Mulhouse, France. It houses over 500 classic and rare cars, including the Bugatti Royale, one of the most expensive cars in the world.
The world's largest tire manufacturer is Lego. Yes, you heard that right. Lego produces more tires each year than any other company in the world. Here's a jaw-dropping fact. The average car has more computing power than the Apollo 11 spacecraft that landed on the moon.
The iconic Aston Martin brand was named after its founder, Lionel Martin, who raced cars at the famous Aston Hill Climb in England.
In 2006, a solar-powered car called the Solar Taxi completed a journey around the world, covering over 32,000 miles. It's a shining example of sustainable transportation.
The Chevrolet Camaro got its name from a French word meaning comrade or pal. It was intended to be a friendly rival to the Ford Mustang.
The Bugatti Veyron, one of the most expensive cars in the world, has 10 radiators to keep its monstrous engine cool. Talk about over-engineering.
The Mercedes-Benz S-Class has an incredible feature called Magic Body Control that uses cameras to scan the road ahead and adjust the suspension accordingly. It's like the car can see bumps before you even feel them.
The Koenigsegg Jesko, a hypercar, has a unique feature called auto skin. With the push of a button, the car's doors, hood, and trunk can open and close automatically. It's like having a personal valet.
The car brand Volvo invented the three-point seatbelt, one of the most important safety features in cars today. They patented it in 1959 and then made the patent open source to save lives.
The Chevrolet Corvette, an American sports car, has been in continuous production since 1953, making it the longest-running mass-produced car model in history.
In Russia, it is illegal to drive a dirty car. So if you're planning a road trip there, make sure your car is squeaky clean.
The iconic DeLorean DMC-12 famously known as the Back to the Future car, was actually produced for only 2 years, from 1981 to 1983. Despite its short production run, it remains an iconic symbol of futuristic style.
The first car with an integrated GPS navigation system was the Oldsmobile Toronado. It was introduced in 1987 and paved the way for modern navigation systems.
The world's largest collection of classic cars can be found at the Lauwman Museum in the Netherlands. It houses over 250 historic vehicles, including rare and unique models. The first car radio was invented in 1922 by George Frost. It was such a hit that by 1930, around 9 million cars had radios installed.
Did you know that the first car ever built was powered by steam? Yep, it was invented by Nicholas Joseph Cugnot way back in 1769.
Ever wondered why the Lamborghini Countach has those iconic scissor doors? It was designed that way to make it easier for drivers to get in and out of the car in tight spaces.
The self-driving car industry is rapidly advancing, and companies like Waymo, Tesla, and Uber are leading the way. Imagine a future where cars drive themselves and you can sit back and relax during your commute.
The Mercedes-Benz logo, the three-pointed star, represents the brand's dominance over land, sea, and air. It symbolizes their engineering excellence in all areas of transportation. Think your car's paint job is impressive? The Rolls-Royce Phantom has a paint option called Diamond Stardust that contains real crushed diamonds. Now that's luxury.
We all know that cars have a lot of parts, but did you know that an average car is made up of around 30,000 individual components? That's some serious engineering.
The Ferrari logo, a prancing horse, was adopted after World War I. It was chosen to honor Italian fighter pilot Francesco Baracca, who painted a horse on his plane.
The iconic Volkswagen Beetle was originally designed by Ferdinand Porsche, who later went on to create his own luxury sports car brand. The Mercedes-Benz G-Class, also known as the G-Wagon, was originally designed as a military vehicle. Its robust and rugged design quickly gained popularity among civilians as well.
The Ferrari Enzo, named after the company's founder, was limited to a production run of just 399 units. It's a rare gem for any car collector.
The average car spends about 95% of its life parked. That's a lot of time just sitting around.
The Pagani Huayra, a masterpiece of Italian engineering, is named after Huayra Tata, which means God of the Winds in Quechua, an indigenous language of the Andes. Its aerodynamic design and powerful performance truly live up to its name.
The iconic BMW logo represents a rotating airplane propeller against a blue sky. It symbolizes the brand's aviation heritage and commitment to engineering excellence.
The Dodge Viper, known for its powerful V10 engine, was initially conceived as a modern take on the iconic Shelby Cobra. It definitely lived up to its reputation.
The Koenigsegg Agera RS, a hypercar, holds the record for the fastest 0 to 420 kph time. It achieved this incredible feat in just 33.29 seconds. Talk about lightning-fast acceleration.
The BMW M5 holds the record for the longest continuous drift. German driver Johann Schwartz drifted the M5 for an astonishing 232.5 miles without stopping.
The Chevrolet Camaro, a classic American muscle car, made its debut in 1966 as a direct competitor to the Ford Mustang. The rivalry between these two iconic cars continues to this day.
The first car with disc brakes was the 1953 Crosley Hotshot. The Nash Rambler, produced from 1950 to 1955, was an early American compact car. The Mazda Miata, introduced in 1989, reinvigorated the affordable sports car market.
The first car with a V8 engine was the 1914 Cadillac Model 30. The Chevrolet Corvair, produced from 1960 to 1969, had a controversial rear-mounted air-cooled engine. The Plymouth Prowler, produced from 1997 to 2002, had a retro future hot rod design.
The first car with a wraparound windshield was the 1949 Oldsmobile 98. The Tucker 48, produced in 1948, had innovative safety features like a center-mounted Cyclops headlight. The Datsun 240Z, introduced in 1969, brought affordable sports cars to the masses.
The first car with a turbocharged engine was the 1962 Chevrolet Corvair Monza Spider. The Edsel, produced by Ford from 1958 to 1959, was an infamous sales failure due to its controversial styling. The DeLorean DMC-12, produced from 1981 to 1983, had distinctive gull-wing doors.
The first car with an automatic transmission was the 1939 Oldsmobile 60. The DeSoto Airflow, introduced in 1934, had an innovative aerodynamic body. The Chevrolet Vega, produced from 1971 to 1977, had quality issues that damaged Chevrolet's reputation.
The first production electric car was the Renault Fluence ZE, introduced in 2011. The Chevrolet Corvair, produced from 1960 to 1969, had a controversial rear-mounted air-cooled engine. The Plymouth Barracuda, introduced in 1964, was an early competitor to the Ford Mustang.
The first car with a unibody construction was the 1934 Citroën Traction Avant. The Hudson Hornet, produced from 1951 to 1954, was a successful NASCAR racer. The Pontiac Aztek, produced from 2001 to 2005, had polarizing gremlin-like styling. The first car with an overhead camshaft engine was the 1912 Peugeot L76. The Cord 810/812, produced from 1936 to 1937, had front-wheel drive and hidden headlights. The Subaru Brat, produced from 1978 to 1994, had an innovative pickup-style design.
The first car with power steering was the 1951 Chrysler Imperial. The Pontiac GTO, introduced in 1964, is considered the first American muscle car. The Volkswagen Type 2 Transporter or microbus was produced from 1950 to 1979. The first car with an electronic fuel injection system was the 1957 Chevrolet fuel injection. The DeSoto brand was introduced by Chrysler in 1928 and produced until 1961. The Chevrolet Bel Air, produced from 1950 to 1975, was a popular American automobile.
The first car with fuel injection was the 1955 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL. The Chrysler Airflow, introduced in 1934, was an early adopter of aerodynamic styling. The Ford Pinto, produced from 1971 to 1980, had a controversial gas tank design prone to explosions.